Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. It's Miracle Monday. And I am in a ball cap because it's snowing here in Canada. It was cold. And I had a toque on. My husband come home to bring me coffee. And I had head. And I was quickly trying to get ready to go online for 4 o'clock. So here we are. Woohoo! So thanks for joining me. If you tell me where you're watching from, tell me if you are watching the replay, and then I can keep track of y'all, which is always fun. So here we are. It is Monday, and it is a cold day in Canada here. So, my goodness gracious me. So hey, Melissa Diaz, welcome, love you, girl. So I'm telling you, it was snowing here in Canada. It's so cold. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I actually can't believe it. So I had a winter toque on, and my husband brought me coffee home, and he was talking, and I'm like, honey, I'm getting ready for my live. He does this a lot now on Mondays. I'm like, are you just doing this to try to get my blood pressure up? Because it's working. So anyway, I had. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put on my Steve Madden pink flaming hat. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And I got my RTK jacket on that I got from, used to be Pastor Kim's. So I thought, I'm going to rock this today. So here we are. So it's Monday. We're starting the week all over again. So happy new week, y'all. Thanks for joining us. So you know what? First off, thank you for all the people that came out yesterday. We had a great service last night. It was amazing. We had Evangelist Drew with us in the house, and a lot of my Limitless ladies were there, and I got to pray over them and, ignite their fire, because we are fire starters, globe starters for Jesus. Woo! Hey, Angel Brown. Good to see you, girl. So that was just a great time in the house of the Lord. And then I had a new girl. It was at church in the morning. Courtney, shout out to Courtney, who found us from listening to Pastor Kim online. So, hey, Angela, welcome. Ooh, can you feel the love today? It's Miracle Monday. So anyway, Courtney was there with her friends, and it was lovely. Hey, Cheryl, love you, girl. Praying for Cheryl's better in Jesus' name. Everybody watching this, pray for Cheryl and her knee and her leg and all the stuff, that she is better in Jesus' name. We are missing her at Limitless. We are missing her at Limitless Church, Limitless Ladies, all the stuff. So we want you better, Cheryl. Good afternoon, Brother Matt. Thanks for joining us. Love the hat and the jacket. Thank you, girl. So, where was I? So back to Limitless Church. So Courtney was there, which was awesome. So she was listening to Pastor Kim, and thought, hey, I live in Sarnia. I'm going to check out Limitless Church. So that's awesome. So she did. So it was great having her there. And hopefully she'll be joining us at Limitless Ladies if she can wing it in her schedule, which would be amazing. So that is our Sunday. So Tuesday, 2 o'clock tea time. We have tomorrow. It's tea time tomorrow. We're only a day away. So that is at Being on a Mission, because we are women on a mission. So anybody local can meet at Being on a Mission at 2 o'clock. And that is all on tomorrow, tea time. And then Thursday is our Limitless Ladies, 9 o'clock. The doors open. So that is always fantabulous, and we'd love to have you join you if you're local. And we also have a special Mother's Day luncheon is going to be coming up. And we have our Swap Till You Drop is going to be coming up. And that is all going to be dates to be announced. Tea time is going to be so fun. So we're actually, if you're local and you have teacups, we're looking for extra donation of teacups, because we don't have enough. So we need to accumulate some more. But we want to have tea parties regularly. So we are collecting teacups. So if y'all can join us and help us out, that would be fantastic. I'm going to actually send this. So that is, and then we have our Swap Till You Drop, which you're going to love. And anybody that was at it before, I'm sure had fun. So we are having that at the end of May. And I think it's the 28th. It's whatever the Thursday night is. It's going to be in the evening. So it's going to be super fun. And you're going to go home with lots of new clothes. So clothing, accessories, shoes, purses, all the stuff. So we're taking donations for all of that. So when you're coming to Limitless Ladies or Limitless Church, you can bring your donations in and we will organize that, set that all up. So then there's going to be a 5:30 preview. And then there'll be 6 o'clock. Things will start with a fashion show. So we're going to use a fashion show and we're going to do all the stuff that's donated we're going to have for our fashion show. And y'all, hey, Wendy, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So it's going to be super fun. It's a lot of fun. If any of you have not done a clothing swap from where you live, you should try it. It is so fun. So you just instead of donating stuff, it has to be good stuff, right? We want good stuff. Like Madison said, new underwear in the package. Just So we take, new in the package, obviously underwear, but cosmetics, perfume, anything like that. And then gently used clothes that are in good shape, hats, accessories, belts, like shoes, purses. Oh my goodness, there were so many great handbags last time. And it is a super amount of fun. When you get there, you pick a number and we sit around in a big circle and you sit in the order. So if you're number 10, then you're 10th in the circle. And then, oh, look at this. I love my bracelets. Look at those great colors. So you're to number 10 and you get 10 picked. So when, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so when it's your turn, you go to pick one item. And then we do that until it starts slowing down with all the items that everybody wants. And then it becomes a free-for-all. And you can get to pick 2 items, 3 items, 5 items, 10 items until everyone fills their bags to go home and have lots of free clothes and stuff. And then last year, I think we had 18 bags to donate at the end. It was so fun. And then we also have, of course, our pizza evangelist sister Lorna. I don't know, she's not on here yet because I think she's just opening up at 4 o'clock. But Sister Lorna, I haven't talked to her yet, but we're going to say she's going to do the pizza. And we're going to have pizza, and then we can buy a ticket ahead of time just to cover the cost, to make sure we know how many people are coming, to make sure we have enough pizza and all the stuff. So it'll be organized, and it's so much fun. So I encourage y'all, if you are in your city, to do that because it is hilarious. The women love it. They go bananas. And it's just a really good, fun night. And we didn't even get into our fashion tips and all our ideas from last time. Because we were just so busy and the women were having so much fun picking. It was just a super amount of fun. And you know what? If you had a significant other at home, the husbands are like, you got all these new clothes and you didn't have to pay for anything? It's like, yeah, that's right. So that's a Limitless Ladies Swap Till You Drop. So if you hear me talking about the Swap Till You Drop the next month, that is what that is all about. So we're taking donations for that coming up, and it's going to be super fun. Also, teacup donations for our Mother's Day tea party. Also, I am speaking Mother's Day Sunday. So if you all are local, and come on out because I'm the guest speaker. Imagine that. So I'm the guest speaker on Sunday morning of Mother's Day. So come on out and join us if you want to try Limitless Church out, see what it's all about. If you go to Limitless Ladies and you want to check it out, come on out. We'd love to have you. And then, of course, our Limitless Next Level is our online community, and we are having our next Zoom call on Thursday night, this Thursday night at 7 p.m. So if you're wanting a kingdom sisterhood of community, come on out and join us. You can click on the link. It's all over my page and my website and all the stuff to join in that online community. We have 2 Zoom calls a month right now, and local Limitless Ladies Luncheon, Next Level, and that is all predetermined. So the beginning of the month, we'll have the dates for the month. Hi, Myrna. Welcome. Good to have you here, sister. She is part of our Next Level. So that is coming up on Thursday night, that we have our Zoom meeting for our Next Level ladies. So if you're thinking about joining, we'd love to have you with us, and we can set you up, and Melissa will be sending the Zoom links out ahead of time so that you are ready to go at 7. And then you can go back and watch the replay anytime, and you can be part of our Facebook community. So it's going to be a blast, because you know what? God's given me a word. And you know what? It's so important to get a group of people that you feel community with, and that kingdom sisterhood, because we all need to encourage each other, lift each other up, right? You raise me up so I can be my best for Jesus. So that's what we're all about. So today's a day. Welcome, Sister Lorna. Welcome. I'm all over the place today, guys. I'm sorry. I was up late last night because you know what? When church goes late and revival starts happening, you just roll with it, right? So it's called supernatural strength. So I was thinking, what are we going to talk about today? There's a couple things I had. I loved it. I had a quick testimony from yesterday of somebody that asked me, Connie, if you have this, do you mind donating? I want to do a project with it. I said, I just had a pair of cowboy boots that I gave away like last week. And she's like, oh, you're kidding. And I felt so bad because I'm like, we hung on to those cowboy boots forever. And so then she messaged me this picture of the special project, which she wanted me doing. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And then I just right then and there, I had prayed. I was like, okay, God, bless this woman with cowboy boots. She wants to do this amazing project and idea. And she messaged me, hey, Roxanne, welcome. She messaged me like an hour or two later and said she'd found 4 pairs at the Goodwill. And I was like, Jesus, thank you. Destiny, welcome. So I was like, thank you, Jesus. So she went to the Goodwill and she found 4 pairs. And I was like, I think that's hilarious, because I said, I felt so bad when you messaged me. And I was like, I gave a pair away last week. And she's like, no way. But right then and there, because I talk about this all the time and I encourage y'all to do it. Pray on the spot. So I prayed on the spot. I was like, God bless her with cowboy boots. Make she find the cowboy boots. And she went to the Goodwill and bingo bango, they were there, 4 pairs. So I loved that. So super amazing. Anyway, so today I was like, what am I going to talk about? So I was thinking, and then my husband comes and hijacks my time of getting ready for my notes. And I'm like, ah! So then I thought, you know what? I can't specifically think of something. Pray now, not later. Yes, Jack Osteen. So good. Love you, brother. It's so good. I don't know how many testimonies. I'm sure you could attest to this to Jack, and I know Lorna can. Is that when it happens, pray on the spot. I don't care if you're in the grocery store, you're, waiting for a parking space, when you have that thought and God drops that in your spirit, pray on the spot, or pray when that person sends you that message, or you're in the middle of a conversation talking with them, and there's going to be a testimony that comes out of it. And you're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. So my thing today was the miracle in your yes, because it's Miracle Monday. And I was just thinking about all that God has done at Limitless Church, at Limitless Ladies, at Next Level. And it's miraculous that just with a yes, just with obedience, what God will take and do with that. Yes, Lorna says, pray right away. And don't we do that, sister? So Lorna and I, going back a long, long time ago, that God brought Lorna into my life in a season where it was a really hard season for me. I was going actually through my divorce, and it's just like God was weeding people out of my life left, right, and center. And God brought Lorna in for such a time as that. And she's still here. Look at that. And we were just talking this morning that, you know what, that we have this same moral compass. We are all about Jesus, and we love bragging on Jesus. So it's great to find sisterhood in your tribe to encourage each other, that talk about Jesus. Let me tell you about my Jesus. So I had that. The miracle is in your yes. So I said today I want to talk about the miracle in your yes, because sometimes we think the miracle is only the big breakthrough at the end, when really the miracle is also in the obedience, the getting back up, the next step, the story God is using along the way. So, you know what? I'm sure we could all actually talk to this one. And for myself, I think of my life, what it used to be. I think of my life. And sometimes we can get stuck thinking, oh my goodness, you can't see past getting through whatever the hard season is, right? We've all been there. And man, in my hard season, it was like double hard. It was like double for your troubles. Like, oh my goodness gracious me. But I look through and I think of all the things that I went through is, miracles are not always flashy. So I always say you have to go through that refining process. And I always say, and I talk about this in my book, that when God is all you got, you find out he is all you need. And you know what? When you have Jesus and you are steadfast in the word and standing on his promises, God is going to turn it around, and your miracle is coming. And I look at what my life used to be like, and you know what? It wasn't glamorous going through the raw, real, unplugged season. It wasn't glamorous going through the cancer diagnosis, raising a special needs child that was beating me up every day and the police were coming to my house. It wasn't glamorous going through a divorce, and somebody that was addicted to pornography and watching their life change. And, nobody talked about this stuff. And I got so, in the middle of all of that, it was like God was refining me to do what I'm doing today. So I had, but my parents taught me honor, hard work, getting a real job. So like not sitting around. I always say I have that farm girl grit and determination, of getting out there and getting it done. Doesn't matter if you have to work around the clock to meet a deadline, if you've committed to it. I just had that hard worker in me. And I worked in nursing growing up because my dad thought that you had to get a job with older people, anything in healthcare, you'd have a job forever. So my mama was a nurse. I was like, okay, I'm going to go into this field because I'll always have a job. And I didn't really, sometimes we don't really think about it. We kind of just start off on the path with how you're being navigated from your family or mentors in your life that you look up to. And you kind of just start going on that path of life, right? So I followed that practical path with nursing and following in my mama's footsteps. I got to work with my mom for about 12 years. It was incredible. It was a great opportunity. I got to work with my mom, but I got to work with medically fragile people and Alzheimer's people that were dying, people that had no family to come and see them. And my mom and I got to go to their bedside. And, I can remember singing a lot with my mom because my mom loved to sing and she loved to harmonize. I would always sing the tunes. She would always harmonize. We'd gather people up in the living room on our break time and sing some songs because you know what? It was just something that we could do on the side as like ministry to lift these people up that maybe didn't have family that were coming in to see them, or people that were dying alone. That was so sad. It was the same thing when I worked with the Alzheimer's dementia patients. It was just giving them hope for that moment in time that I was there. And music was something that God would really use to minister to them. So I can remember putting Gaither music on or just singing with them, or somebody that was, didn't want to be compliant with something that they needed done. They were always waiting for me to come in because I had a special way with them. But that was just Jesus working through me, right? So I think of all those times of, being in nursing, working in that area, and how God's brought me to where I am today. And who would have thought? Who would have thought in that season of me working in nursing, like, oh my goodness, how long ago was that? 30 years ago, and then working and flipping into business and then running businesses and making millions for other people and then starting my own business. And, it's just phenomenal that God takes all these life experiences that you have and he amalgamates and he uses it to what you are today. Hey, Joel, I saw you come on there. Sorry, brother Joel. Doing well. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yes, they always remember those songs. Isn't it incredible? Myrna, I know when I was working with the Alzheimer's, when you start singing a song from their past, it was crazy how it would just come back and they would be singing along. There was one lady that, she just paced and paced and paced and paced. She couldn't remember her name. She couldn't remember anything, but She loved the music, and she'd come alive when the music come on. And I can remember I would sit her down at the piano and I would just kind of give her a hug from in behind, and just to get her to sit there, right? And as soon as she would sit there and her hands got on those keys, she would start to play. And it was just like something magnificently magical, because it all come back from like 30 years ago when she used to sit down and play at the piano. And I'm telling you, you couldn't even get her to stop pacing. All she did is pace when she was up. Unless she was sleeping, she was pacing. But when you sat her down and I'd give her that hug and squeeze from behind to make her stay there, she would start to play. And it was just beautiful how music would just light up the room. And it's just like she went back to when she was 30 years ago and she could remember all of that. And it was such a beautiful thing. So that's totally off topic. So in your yes, whatever that is, God will use you in different seasons of your life, and he will build you, and he will keep building you, and it builds character. I always say I have that farm grit, determination, and hard work. And I never gave up on things, and I was always black and white. I always, tried to live my best, be Jesus with skin on, no matter where I was. Yes, it's so good, Connie. That's so awesome. Oh, and be Jesus with skin on, no matter what season it was in my life, what I was doing, if I was in nursing, if I was running a business for somebody else, if I was running a business for myself. I had a tea room, loved to decorate, make things from scratch. So I had so many side hustles, wedding event coordinator, decorator, florist, all this stuff. And I think, wow, in that building season, God made me who I am today. I didn't just pop up like that, pop out like this, so God refines us in all those different areas of our life. So I was thinking, not everyone is called to start a church or even build like a next level group, but everyone is called to something. Everyone has a testimony, and your testimony is part of your miracle. So what you walked through to get that testimony, to get that miracle that you're sharing with other people, then you know what? That is part of your story that is going to help, propel other people. And you can't argue with a miracle. You can't argue with somebody's story about somebody's testimony, and that it's who they are, and it's who they are and how God took them through that path and refined them to where they are today, walking forward, doing what they're doing. And it's what we decide to do with that. So I think in my own life, I could have easily said, no way, I'm not doing that. Because everything inside of me screamed like, no way, I don't like talking in front of people. 20 years ago, I would rather scrub toilets with a toothbrush than talk in front of people. It was just absolutely no way. I could think I'm never going to be that person. But God refines you when you go through these seasons in life that are hard. And when you actually really have to depend on him, and he becomes your strength and your source, like he always should. But in North America, we kind of can depend on ourselves a little bit. And it was through those seasons of my life that God really changed me. So number one was getting healed of cancer, and walking through that I said to God, I was like, if you just heal me, I will say or do whatever you want me to do. And that was the beginning of a pivot for me, that, through that obedience and saying, okay, God, I did say that, I got to step forward. And then starting to take those little steps of obedience, it just changed everything about my life. So I'm going to start, because I just quickly wrote down some points and I'm scattered all over the place here. So sorry, guys. But thanks for joining me. So number one point was, sometimes the miracle is that you got back up. So I look at my own life. I didn't stay down. I didn't swallow the diagnosis, because how many people do you know that they go to an earthly doctor, and not that there's anything wrong with earthly doctors, because God will use doctors, but they go and they get a diagnosis, and sorry, my hair is driving me crazy looking at it on that. They get that diagnosis, and then they become their diagnosis. And it's just like, they don't want to speak healing. They don't want to speak miracles. They just swallow that, whatever that death sentence is, of a diagnosis, of a bad report, whatever. They just swallow it, And it totally changes the trajectory of their life. So sometimes the miracle is you just got back up. Sometimes you need to talk yourself into getting back up. Like that's where that farm grit and determination, farm girl, hard worker, grit and determination was. I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm getting back up. Madison needs her mom. God is going to heal me. God is going to use me. And I just kept waking up every day, and I would just keep speaking the promises of God, right? I knew God. I did not quit. And your story doesn't end when it gets hard. That's usually when it's just beginning, y'all. It's usually when it's just beginning is when it starts to get harder, right? And things start coming against you. And it's just like you feel like stuff is coming from every which way. And you're like, how am I going to get through this? Hello? And it's just important. Don't quit. You know, you're still here. You're still standing. God still has a plan for your life. And I always say, when God is all you got, you find out he is all you need. And why do you think I dress up every day? Because every day is a gift. Every day is a party. Every day is a gift. And you need to learn to celebrate. Celebrate and find joy in the journey. That is why I am here today, and who I am and how I'm acting and what I'm doing. It's all because of that. It's all because of my story that God has put together. And I'm on this path now, which I never would have dreamed I would be on. But that's what happens when you say yes. And you let God use you. So the miracle started when you got back up, right? When you got back up. You didn't stay down. You didn't stay down. You didn't stay stuck. You got back up. And you're like, no, God is for me. Somehow we're going to do this. Somehow we're going to trust him. I'm going to do 10 toes down. I'm going to put feet to my faith, and he's going to use me, and he's going to give me a testimony. I'm going to live to tell about it. So I had Micah 7:8, though I have fallen, I will rise. I will rise. Hallelujah. Woo, come on now. I will rise. God can use our story for his glory. So point number 2 was your testimony is your miracle. Hello. And you know what? Sometimes we don't, like, some people think, well, I don't have a testimony like you. I didn't have cancer and God healed me, or whatever the thing is. But you know what? You look back on your life, and you can see where God's brought you from. And there is testimony waiting in some part of your story. There is a testimony that God has given you a miracle and done a shift and a pivot somewhere. And sometimes we have to look for that, because sometimes we get stuck and we think, oh yeah, God's not doing anything for me. Oh, poor me. So what you walk through matters. What you walk through matters, and what you have overcome matters. What God has brought you through matters. Those are all points of your testimony and your miracle that are going to help other people. Right? I think of my own life. Okay, I walked through cancer. I had my marriage breakdown. Raising Madison, special needs kid that was over the top. Anybody that would have seen me the first 20 years of her life, I look like a totally different person now. But you know what? I was like, God was refining me through that process. And I wouldn't be who I am today without having to walk through that. You know, because God became my everything. Before my feet hit the floor in the morning, I would be praying for her, for myself. God, give me the strength. God, protect us. Give me supernatural peace. All this stuff. It was just like unimaginable what you had to walk through. And other people have stories similar, right? So rebuilding your life. Some people, it's like it's easier to just forget about it, and they keep on that hamster wheel, and they don't want to jump off. They don't want to do something different because it's hard. It's hard to face your fears and sometimes do the right thing. Get different people around your table. It's hard. It's hard because the other is comfortable and it's easier. Sometimes, you know, the biggest stuff is when, you know, you can step away from what's easy and comfortable and step into something new, because it's really having the faith to trust God that, you know, I am scared to death, but I'm going to trust you. You got good plans for my life, and I'm going to leave this with you. So, I think of my own, like stepping into ministry. Did I ever think I was going to do that? No, not a chance. But when God keeps miraculously doing things in your life and giving you these testimonies, then you know what? The miracle has been in my yes also, because it's amazing what God will use us for when we can just say yes. And it's amazing what he can use us for when we just open our mouth and talk about him and, brag on Jesus. Brag on Jesus. So, and when you give God all the glory, it's amazing how he just keeps giving you more and more stories and more testimonies. So your testimony is not just something that you survived. It's something that God wants to use. I was talking to somebody this morning and I was like, you know what? My mind is blown. There was this person that we both knew and that was healed of cancer. It was healed of cancer. Now, mind you, nobody knew she had cancer except a few people, and we were one of them. And so it's like, why didn't she tell people that God healed her? Like, I just couldn't understand that. And to me, I was saying to my friend, it's like, it's mind blowing, because I'm like, here I am, God healing me of cancer changed everything about my life. And here she is, God healed her of cancer and she's not telling anybody. She's not telling anybody. It's like the best kept secret, right? I'm like, oh, it actually makes me so sad when I think, man, God healed somebody that was dying, that had a death sentence on their life, and they've kept it to themselves. And it could be such a powerful testimony to help other people. Here I am, I'm crying because I get so emotional, because when you've been given a death sentence, I know what that's like. And when God touches you and heals you and gives you life, I think I can't even imagine not wanting to brag on Jesus and tell other people about it, and use that story for his glory, and just brag on Jesus and say, come on, this is what God's done for me. So it's hard to believe sometimes that when people have such a great testimony like that could be so powerful and influence other people, and they keep their lips shut and they don't share it, and they keep the duct tape on, and it's like the best kept secret. No, God wants you to share. There's power in your testimony, and the Bible talks about that. So has God brought you through something that could help others? Like, what has God done for you? What story has he given you that you could help others? And you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, but I can't speak like that, or I don't present like that, or, it doesn't matter. We just have to be obedient and open our mouth, and God will do the rest. So the biggest thing is just opening our mouth, getting it out there. So now point number 3 is not everyone is called to the same thing, but everyone is called, right? So not everyone will start a church. Not everyone will start a Limitless Ladies. Not everyone will start a Next Level, right? Not everyone will lead even a group. Not everyone will be on a platform, right? It's not going to be for everybody. Not everyone will write a book. Not everyone will even press live to go on a video. Not everyone will write a blog. Heck, some people won't even post about anything on Facebook, Instagram, whatever your platform is. Hey, Kimberly, welcome. So, you know what? It's okay, because God has something different for all of us. And what is for me is not going to be for you. So everyone has influence, everyone has a story, and everyone has a next step. So it doesn't matter where you are, you have influence in your circle. Whatever circle is around you, you have influence, you can make impact if you just open your mouth up and you start sharing, you start being obedient to what God has you to do, right? So we all have that. And not everyone has a different story. So God's going to use us all differently. It's like in my Next Level Ladies, like everyone in there has a different story. So it's like somebody says, like, well, I'm too old, or like, I'm not into business, I'm not into ministry. It doesn't matter. There's something there for everyone, because the fundamental steps and nuggets of what you need to apply are the same for everybody. It doesn't matter if you want to just be a better mother, have a better family, have a better impact on your children. It doesn't matter. The fundamental basics are the same. So you don't need to be launching a business or a ministry. That's just on a different level, right? It's the same basics for all of us. So God's not asking you to do what I'm doing, obviously, because we're all different. He's asking you just to say yes, what you're called to do. What does God call you to do that when you say yes to it, what is that going to shift and do to others, right? What is your miracle in saying yes? What do you need to consider saying yes to? You know, what's knocking at your door? What's God been speaking to you about? Are you listening? Are you listening? Woo! Sometimes we don't listen very well. Sometimes we get stuck in our feelings, stuck with our baggage, you know, glued to our past, and it's very hard to get unglued and move on. I had Ephesians 2:10, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. We are all special, and none of us are going to do the same thing. None of us, you know, we might have similar ideas, but like Pastor Kim says, we all have our different special sauce, right? So how I do something is going to be different than, you know, how somebody else does something out there. And that's okay, because you know what? God uses people. God uses people, and we all do things differently. And so different people are going to be, you know, attracted to certain people, right? So then you find that person that you're attracted to that resonates with you, that you can think, yeah, I align with this person. I like this. I like their personality, whatever it is. They're very foundationed in their faith. It's all, you know, from the Bible. And, you know, you go with that. But it's very important to have that connectivity. So point number 4 I had, what is your next step? What is your next step? Because sometimes we can talk silliness forever. We can talk silliness for years. We can talk people out of things. And I know Evangelist Jonathan Osteen, who is at Bethel doing services this past week, was talking about his testimony and how God had spoke to him and how he really felt like God saying, like, this is going to be like your last chance. Like, if you don't say yes this time, then this is going to be last time. Because sometimes God is patient, but you know what? We're also living in a season of acceleration. And you know what? If you don't want to be obedient and say yes, then you might miss it. You know, and I thought that was very bold of him to share that, because that is something that happens. And you know what? You don't want to miss what God has for you. So what is your next step? That was point number 4. So you might not have the whole plan. You might not have the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the whole business plan broken down, whatever, but you just need your next step. Just your next step. Because I've talked about my ladies, Limitless Ladies and Next Level, is that sometimes it's just that in that obedience of making the next step, and then where God might reveal, obviously, the next door that's going to open, you know, whatever. It could be a business idea, it could be a ministry idea, something that you need to act on, somebody you need to talk to, somebody you need to connect to, a group that you need to start to be in, you know, whether it's coming to Limitless Ladies, Limitless Church, Next Level, whatever, because God will use these kind of ministries, groups, online community, whatever. He is going to use people like that to go to your next level. Right? It's amazing with the world of the internet. You know, you can talk to people all over the world and he will connect and use people, where it's just like, it's phenomenal. Because you think of 20 years ago, I was like, wow, it's changed so much. And it can be a negative, but it also can be a positive. So sharing your story could be an example. Encouraging someone else, joining community, stepping out of fear is huge for a lot of people. Starting something just small. Come on now. Little is much when God is in it. Sometimes it's just that small baby step forward that he will use to blow our minds, right? Saying yes to healing. So, you know what? I mean, there was a lady that got some healing last night, and we were doing deliverance ministry with her. And I am telling you, I don't like to be a demon slayer. I don't like to give the devil any kind of platform at all. It just really drives me crazy because, you know, some people, Some people are looking for a devil around every corner. And I don't work like that. I don't work like that. I don't scream and cast the devil out, because you know what? You can cast the devil out and whisper in the name of Jesus. They're gone. And Evangelist Drew was talking to me last night, and he said, you know what, Connie, as soon as you laid hands on that lady, it broke that. And she went flying. And then we did other ministry on her. But man, the great thing was to see her healing afterwards, to see the weight that had lifted off of her, to see the joy that was on her face. Made it all worth it. To see that healing, that she walked out with. And she said, you know what? I needed to lose 5 pounds. But she said, I feel 50 pounds lighter. I cannot imagine that this weight has come off of me. God is so amazing. God is so amazing. So saying yes to healing is huge. And just think now that her next step could be sharing her story with someone else and helping them get out of their mess and turning their life around and getting their deliverance and their healing and walking into what God has them. And it's like a ripple effect, right? Like I was praying for the Limitless ladies that were there last night, and, you know, praying that God just starts a fire in them, because everywhere they go, right? Everywhere they go, they can light a fire with whoever they meet, right? Whether it's telling their story, praying for them. Sometimes it's just listening to someone and giving them a hug, and they just feel Jesus so strong, and that they're drawn towards you, that they want to get back around you, and they're going to start wanting more of you because they want the Jesus inside of you. So everywhere you go, that atmosphere shifts, because it's Jesus overspilling out of you, and that's what they're going to get every time, right? So saying yes to healing. So you don't need the whole blueprint. You just need the next yes. We just need the next step. So what is one thing God has been nudging you to do? Come on now. What has God been knocking at your door, asking you to do? You're not listening. You're putting a pin in it. I can't do that. I got to wait till I'm on vacation. I can't do that. I don't have all that mapped out, God. I can't do that. It's like my next level. It's like I said to Pastor Kim, I said, I'm not ready for this. I haven't been feeling well. I was struggling with lung issues at the beginning of the year. I don't know if y'all remember that. It was 2 months. And Pastor Kim's like, no, it's time to go. It's go time. And Stephen said the same thing. And I'm thinking, I'm just not ready. He's like, no, it's go time. And I was like, okay, God, I'm going to give you my yes. And I'm going to pray for the downloads that you're going to have everything fall into place. And you know what he did? He did. And Melissa Diaz is here helping me. And she's been a blessing beyond. Because you know what? In our obedience, God will send the right people in your circle to help you. You have to have the discernment for that, because some people are not in it for the right reasons, but God will send the right people. Spending time with him in the secret place. So true. So true. So good, because that'll change your life. And actually, that's part of that. We're talking about that at Limitless Ladies this Thursday, because sometimes we just need to be consistent and intentional and make time for Jesus in this busy, crazy world, because it's easy to get stuck in the stuff. Right? And when we make time for Jesus and we are consistent and he is our everything, right? Then, man, he will start speaking to us. Welcome, Amy. Thanks for joining us. Hello, hello, hello. So make time for Jesus is so good. Such good. Thanks for sharing that, Nicole. So, you know what? It's just like, think about that. What is God nudging you? Because usually what God is dropping in your spirit and nudging in you, and it keeps coming up and he keeps highlighting it, it's usually something that's going to be tied to your next level of where he wants you to go, right? Thank God for Melissa Diaz, right, Myrna? She's been a blessing, because y'all, I would not be doing Next Level Ladies if it wasn't for Melissa Diaz. I'm telling you, God's given me the downloads of stuff to speak about and things to do and the homework assignments and all the stuff. But I'm not going to lie to you. All of that nonsense about the Zoom calls and the online stuff. And I mean, I'm telling you, that can just be way too much for me. Glad to be here. Awesome. Thank you, Amy. So thank God for somebody like Melissa Diaz, because that is her gift and she's being obedient and she's walking forward and go what God has for her to do, and that's easy for her to do, right? So then she can partner up with somebody like, Stephen and myself, and she's going to be helping us more in the future with Limitless Church and all this stuff, because you know what? It's so important to have the right people at your table. It's so important to have the right people that you trust at your table, that you have the same visions and you're like-minded, because God will bring those people around, and that's going to help us propel to the next level together, right? Because when you have the right people at your table, that's why it's so important. And I keep saying that, right? And I know it seems like, oh my goodness, stop it. But it so makes a difference. This is what God has been asking me to do, but hard to find balance with family, work, discipleship, etc. You are so right, Nicole. And that's why it's like to be consistent and intentional. And it's almost like sometimes we have to block that time out. Okay, God, I'm blocking this time out. I have to spend this time with you, and this is going to be my regular routine, and this is family, and then, husband, all this stuff, all the working, juggling all that. And sometimes there's a real art but then when you get that sweet spot where you got everything organized, and then it's like God just starts blowing our mind, because then he'll accelerate things and he'll be showing us things, and we've taken the time to include him in that. Welcome, sweet sister Sherry. Love you, girl. Can you feel the love today? Sherry's in the house. Woo! So, sorry guys, I get off topic sometimes. But number 5 was daily obedience creates life-changing miracles. So things don't happen overnight. Sometimes people think that that's going to happen, right? But it didn't happen overnight. It's one step by one step by one step in front of the other. 10 toes down, one step in front of the other. Obedience by obedience, faith by faith, and walking that out. Trusting God, right? Trusting God in the small things. Sometimes they're not big fireworks, life-changing, pivotal things. It's, sometimes just those little consistent little things that I always say, the little things are the big things, and God unfolding that is so cool. So, like I'm just tying it in, thinking about those things like us starting a church. I would never thought we were going to do that, right? But it didn't happen overnight. It was all those steps that God has brought us both through over the years to get to where we are today. It's the same with building the Next Level Ladies. Didn't happen overnight. God had been talking to me about that there will be ladies out there that want more, that, want more connectivity, that want more mentorship. It's like I do one-on-one coaching also. So it's like God, and those people that want more and are willing to take that step of faith and be like, yeah, I want to know more about this. I want you to teach me. I want to grow together. I need that kingdom sisterhood, that community. You know what I mean? Then God is going to align those people. God had totally directed me to start Faith and Flourish, and even paved a way for me to have extra time by placing my mom in a safe environment. See, Barb, she's a Next Level lady here too. And when you get something birthed in your spirit, and you walk in obedience, a step at a time, right? Because there's one step in front of the other. And sometimes things don't go as fast as we want, but it's being consistent and intentional. So look, this is Barb's testimony so she, God directed her to do that. She's starting it. She's launching that. And then God has opened a door for placing her mom in a safe environment, because she was looking after her mom at home. And that was a lot. Anybody that has been a caregiver knows how much work that is. That is a lot. That is taxing on the person looking after, doing the caregiving, and it's a lot of work. So what tends to happen is you put yourself last on the list, and you don't really have the energy to start new missions and projects, whatever that is. So good for you, Barb, for doing that. I'm so proud of you, girl. Woo! So that is going to be Faith and Flourish. So you can go find her online and join her group. And she's got lots of great things coming. So you know what? Showing up for people sometimes is just the important thing. Sharing your story again and again. Don't get tired of sharing your story. Give God the glory for your story. Whatever testimony he's given you over the years of what he's done, you know what? Give him the glory. Share your story with people. What looks small today can become something that changes lives tomorrow. Did I ever think I was going to be doing this? Not in your life. Did I ever think I was going to be writing Beauty in the Ashes, my story? Well, I might have thought maybe I'd write my story, but I thought, will I actually ever do it? Will I actually ever have a book in my hand? Yes, I did it. I did it. Right? So God uses all those little things along the way to change lives for today. Right? So I didn't dream I would be doing this today, right? But one step in front of the other, right? Moving forward, then this is where God has me. And because I said yes and I was obedient, then look what the Lord has done. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Look what the Lord has done. And it's amazing when we can be faithful and learn from the things that we go through, the things that we're stretched through, and see how God will use us. So I had Zechariah 4:10. Do not despise these small beginnings. I think of Limitless Church when I think of that. You know, when we started Limitless Church, it was just like, okay, God, all the confirmations happened. All the people that God placed in our lives to speak into us that, yes, this was something we needed to do. You know, Pastor Kim's like, you guys can't worry. You got to trust God that he's going to open the right doors at the right time. He's going to find the building and he's going to line everything up. And I thought, oh, this is a step of faith for someone that I figure has pretty good faith. You know, my faith is everything in Jesus, you know, because I know God can do all things. But when she was sitting at the table, you know, we're eating supper together and she's saying, you guys just got to take that step out and he's going to find the building and he's going to cover the cost and the money is going to come in, because when God has called you to something, he's going to provide the means to do it, because that's what he does. Because little is much when God is in it. So we had to believe and trust that God was going to do that, right? Only believe, because all things are possible. Only believe. I love that song. Only believe, all things are possible. Only believe. So we left the table after having supper with her, and it's like, okay, well, I just guessed that we got to, take that step of faith. And we're going to, we had been praying for a place for God to find. So then we put a demand on it. And we said, okay, God, we need to know in so many hours that, you know what, if this is what you have for us, then we need confirmation and we need to find the place. And I think I've told this before, after going down to the States and being with Pastor Kim and hearing Wessel DeBrune in Kentucky and having a word over us then, and coming home to hearing Dr. Paul Lanucci, that has the biggest church in the world, and getting to meet him, and at his services when we prayed, God, find us a place in 48 hours. Because we need to go on to the next step. We are being obedient. We know that this is what you've called us to do. You've confirmed that. And now we need the place. And then just like God does, I had prayed, because my husband, he wasn't really, he didn't know why we needed 48 hours. He's like, well, in the next couple weeks. I'm like, no, in the next 48 hours is what I'm putting a demand on, because, there's a lot of things that have to be done ahead of time before we open the church. And you know what? It was just like God. In 24 hours, we found the space that we're at right now for Limitless Church. And Pastor Kim was right. Everything she spoke into us that day, everything, she was right. God found the space. God provided the funds. We have been blessed by people giving and supporting the church and God's work. even to the, like, there's so many details I've gone, the piano, the chairs, everything that was there. I mean, just God is so in the details. And when you're doing it for him with the right heart, I always say, when you have the right heart, God will use that. So you know what? Miracle Monday today, the miracle is in your yes. So whatever that thing is that God keeps knocking at your door, consider revisiting that and see what in your yes, what miracle he's going to produce out of that. Because there'll always be one. And it'll usually be the thing that you are scaredy cat. Like, no, I'm not doing that no matter what. Like, like with myself 20 years ago, it's public speaking. It's like, no, God, I don't care if Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. If Jesus called me up on the main line, I'd be like, no, I can't do that, Jesus. But guess what? God changed my heart. And I went through those seasons and he made me who I am today. And I had to get out of my own stinking thinking. I had to get out of my own flesh and be like, you know what? I can talk about what Jesus has done for me. Let me tell you about my Jesus, right? So here's what I had in closing today. This is what I want you to hear today. So you don't have to start a church to be part of a miracle, right? You don't have to have a platform to make an impact. God can use us all in our own special way. You don't have to have it all figured out. You do not have to have it all figured out. You just have to have one step in front of the other. But you do have to have a testimony. You do have to have a story. And you do have to have a next step. And in your yes, that could shift your whole life and someone else's too. So don't forget that your story matters. Your testimony matters. Not everyone has the same calling. But everyone has a next step. Everyone has a next step. Amen, Nicole says. Woo, I love you, Nicole. Nicole is another one that she loves Jesus and she's braggadocious on Jesus. And I love getting together and being braggadocious on Jesus. I totally get that because I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. And now I'm like, tell me what you want me to do next, God. Isn't that so good? That is so huge, Kimberly. So not everyone has the same calling, but everyone has a responsibility for your next best step to get to your next level, to where God wants to take you so that you keep propelling. And you know what? He's going to accelerate that when you are obedient and you say yes and you have the right heart. So God can use your yes to help someone else attain their miracle. And I know Nicole's on here and Lorna's on here. And I know that those are two people that, you know what, take it serious. So like when someone needs a miracle and need prayer, they're going to pray for the miracle. And I'm telling you, if any of y'all have needed a miracle before in your life, you want people that are going to stand with you and pray for the miracle. So I know in my life, I talk about Louis and Ruth DeBrun, how they had stood and believed for the miracle for me. Because not everybody will. When you get a bad report, some people, they go sideways and for all of a sudden, what the Bible says we're supposed to stand on, they chuck that out the window and they go scaredy cat and they listen to, what the doctor's report was and not what Dr. Jesus says. And so, but when you're believing for a miracle, you want actually people that know how to pray and believe for a miracle, right? Mark 9:24, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. You don't want people that have unbelief. Sorry. You want people that are going to believe for a miracle and have testimonies to share to increase your faith of miracles that have happened. And that's why they are where they are today. Because you know what? You can't talk Lorna out of anything because she knows what her God's done. Her husband has an amazing testimony. And man, I would love to get her on here someday. But her schedule is as crazy as mine. But I want to start doing that more and sharing more people's testimonies because you all need to be encouraged by testimonies, right? Because in your yes and sharing that, it changes lives. So someday when Lorna's free, and I'd love to get Franny Pack on here too, to share a testimony, to encourage y'all. Because when you share your testimony, and increases other people's faith. And guess what? There is so many people that are out there that feel overwhelmed with what's happening in the world today, whatever their situation is. They feel bogged down, and they just need to have a hope dealer come around and give them hope that God can do this for them too, because God's no respecter of persons. So what he's done for Lorna, what he's done for Nicole, what he's done for myself, he can do for you, and he can give you a testimony. You can have a miracle with your name on it, right? And then that's going to shift the trajectory of your life. And then when you say yes to whatever God's asking you to do, that could be the miracle someone else is waiting for, right? That is only going to maybe listen to you, or that you're the only Jesus that they might see. Kimberly says, oh yes, definitely handsome. Some miracles happen from my life. The cool thing is that I've realized my miracle is not going to be the same as your miracle, and vice versa. That's so true. So something that is just absolutely miraculous to me, somebody else might be like, that's not a miracle, but it's my miracle. That's right. See, so that's what happens when we all have our own story, all have our own testimony, all have our own miracle. Hey, Donna, welcome, girl. Love and nuts from Canada. Ooh, love you. Love you. So that is so true, Kimberly. And Kimberly is part of my next level girls. So I love you, Kimberly. And I love that you are in our kingdom community. So thank you for joining us. And it's so important to remind each other that, you know what, somebody might think, oh, that's no big deal. Well, it actually is a big deal, because it's true. Like, Kimberly is going to impact people, and with her story and her miracle and her testimony, that, you know what, I'm not going to have access to. I'm not going to be able to, impact those people. Like, God's going to give, people ears to hear what she's saying, that he's specially lined up, because God will use people. God uses people. So that's why we have to stop being scaredy cats, and we have to step forward, and the miracle of our yes is going to change people's lives. So I know it's a weird topic today, but I don't know. I just kind of took a new twist on it, because I was thinking, you know what, here I am, I'm writing content, and I think, God, is this really me? Y'all, I could cry talking about it. So I go from working in nursing to running businesses for myself and other people, making other people lots of money, having a successful business myself that I had to sell when I got cancer, and just seeing where God's brought me. And I didn't even know I could write. You know how I discovered I could write? Is when I was in the middle of my cancer journey, and I had a successful business in a town that everybody loved me. And all these people wanted to know how I was doing. And I thought, I was overwhelmed. I thought, how am I going to share my story with them and give them updates, of what's happening? Because they all cared and loved me so much. And my older sister, who had, cancer didn't run in our family at all. 2 years before I got diagnosed, my older sister got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And she has an amazing testimony also, but she's more private than me, which is fine, because she's encouraged me a lot and got, me on a road and a journey that I might not have been on if God didn't use her story, right? So where was I going with this? I totally went blank. I don't know. Where was I, guys? I don't know where I was going with this. I'm sorry. Anyway, you never know who you're going to impact and how God is going to use you. And you know what? When you say yes to whatever that thing is. Oh, because I was talking about writing my blog, right? So I started writing in the middle of such a broken season where all these people wanted to know how I was doing. So I started this blog up because my sister had suggested it. She said, it'll save you taking phone calls from everybody and repeating yourself over, because it was exhausting too, right? So I started writing about it. And I had all these thousands of people follow me because they wanted to know how I was doing, and they genuinely cared. And then they started following me, and they're like, you write awesome. You're so funny. You're, because I write how I talk. And then I thought, this is really therapeutic. I really like this. It was fun. So then, of course, as I got healed and in my journey, I'm like, I really need to write my story, and I need to write it how I talk. And that's one thing I found out when you're hiring editor, when you write a book, ChatGPT doesn't work because ChatGPT does not know how to edit Connie Mannering talking. So the first 4 chapters, when she sent it back to me, I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound like me at all. I don't know who you're talking about, but this ain't my book. So that was something funny because, when you have a unique sound and a way of talking and relaying things, then you know what, God's going to send the right person. I got the wrong person first crack. But then God got it right, and I was just needed to listen and pay attention a little bit better. So then I think of my life now writing for Limitless Ladies and what God's downloaded, and I'm actually writing and in the middle of a whole curriculum for women's ministry that God downloaded to me. Donna says, I'm so glad you did. Absolutely love your book. Just brought an extra copy to share. Oh, Donna, that just touches my heart. Thank you for sharing that. So there's Donna. She's sharing. She's read my book recently, how much it touched her. And she just bought an extra copy to share with others. And I was also talking to another sister today, Lorna, who said the same thing. She said, I was at church last night and I seen somebody giving your book to somebody else. And she said, I think that was the book I gave them. And I need to buy more, sister, because I'm going to bless people with it because your story is so powerful. And you know what? Me being obedient, saying yes, is going to help somebody else's miracle. Because you know what? People need to know that miracles still happen and need to have their faith increase to believe that. And you know what? It changes everything. Because sometimes people just need a thread of hope to know, right, that God can have a miracle. I think of that song, reach out and touch the Lord as he passes by. You'll find he's not too busy to hear your heart's cry. He is passing by this moment, your needs to supply. So reach out and touch the Lord as he goes by. It's an old song, but it's such a good song, right? To just reach out and just grab on the hem of his garment, right? And he's going to touch you and he's going to change you, right? And believe, only believe, all things are possible, only believe. What God's done for me, he can do for you. And in your yes, there can be a miracle attached to that. By you saying yes to that thing that you've been putting off. You've been putting it off for so long. But when you say yes for such a time as this, God is going to honor and accelerate your yes. And there's going to be miracles all over that. And you're going to change other people's lives. And it's going to be so fun while you're doing it. You know what? I was never going to go live. And Pastor Kim challenged me the one day she talked to me. She goes, now when I get off, you're going to push live and you're going to go live and then you're going to text me afterwards and let me know how it went. I'm like, no way. She's holding me accountable. And sometimes that's why we need somebody like a Pastor Kim in our life, like a Connie, like whoever, like a Sister Lorna, Melissa, all these people, right? That you can be that person in someone else's life that you're pushing them to their next level. I would have never pressed the live button. I was like, you're absolutely out of your ever-loving mind. I'm not doing that. And now it's like anybody that's pressed the live button, it's just like, the first couple times you do it, it's like, but now you do it, and it's like, I don't care. I don't care if I mess up. I don't care if I, forget what I'm going to say, like I did a few minutes ago, lose my train of thought, because you know what? The devil will try to get you into stinking thinking and discourage you from doing anything for Jesus. Discourage you from pressing the live button so that you don't share what God has to say. Try to silence your voice, right? So, what? I just encourage you, say yes and be obedient. And you know what? Don't listen to that stupid devil. Don't listen to that stupid devil that's trying to discourage you. I just sent a prayer to somebody right before I got on live, that were asked to share their testimony, were nervous because they were sharing their testimony with a bunch of youth. And they felt like, they were second guessing themselves because it was getting closer to the time that they were going to be sharing. And they're like, Connie, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, you can do this. You're born for such a time as this. You're sharing your story. And you know what? You can never mess up sharing your story because your story is your story. You can't mess it up. You lived your story, so you know all the bits and pieces to your story. If there's anything, there's nothing easier to share than your testimony and your story. You can't mess that up. You can't mess it up. You can't screw it up because it's your story. So I prayed with her and I was like, God is going to use you because you're being obedient and you're saying yes. Yes, she was scared silly. But you know what? I know that the report's going to come in and everything's going to go just fine. Because I said, you know what? When you're obedient, God will put every word on your lips to say. Because I know, because I've been there. Because I never thought I'd be doing this. I'm like, Lord, I can only do this if you are working through me, giving me the words to say. Because there ain't no way in my humanness that I can do any of this. Myrna says, yes, I love that song. We know all the old songs, don't we, Myrna? They're such good ones. I'm an old soul. I'm an old soul. Okay, so I'm going to sign off, guys, because Steven's going to be home soon from work because I'm already at 10 after 5. Sorry for talking so long. But you know what? Don't forget that the miracle could be in your yes. And somebody could be waiting on the other side of your yes for their miracle. So don't miss it. Don't be delayed. You know, say yes for such a time as this and watch God show off on what he's going to use you for. Because you have a story and he will use it for his glory. He can use me, this little farm girl from Oil Springs, simple farm girl with simple faith. If he can use me, he can use y'all. So have a great evening. Love you. Thank you, Melissa. This was great. Love you. Okay, never forget. What am I going to do? Little is much when God is in it. Okay? And when God is in it, we're in it to win it. So love you and have a happy Monday. See you.